efficient and impactful as they could be. Investing in training programs that teach them about financial management, project planning, monitoring and evaluation, and even how to communicate effectively can help them become more self-sufficient and sustainable.
So it's about giving them what they need to not just survive, but actually thrive in a complex and competitive environment.
Exactly. It's about building up their internal capabilities so they can manage their resources, well-designed programs that have a real impact and track their progress. And it's not just about technical skills. Developing leadership skills is also really important. Strengthening the leadership within NGOs can really help them inspire their teams, overcome obstacles, and make strategic decisions that will move the organization forward.
It's about investing in the people within those NGOs, empowering them to be effective leaders and make a lasting impact. What other solutions are people considering?
Another crucial area is access to expert advice. NGOs often encounter complicated problems that require specialized knowledge in areas like law, finance, technology, or even specific fields like healthcare or education. Creating platforms or networks that connect NGOs with people who have experience in these areas and can provide free consultations or mentoring could be extremely valuable.
It's like building a support system, a network of experts that can offer advice and support when NGOs need it most.
Exactly. It's about utilizing the expertise of professionals who really care about supporting the social sector. And it doesn't have to be a formal long-term commitment. Even just some short-term consultations or workshops can give NGOs the knowledge and skills they need to tackle specific challenges or just make better decisions.
That's a good point. It's all about offering targeted support at the right time.
And of course, we can't forget about the role of technology. We've already touched on its ability to connect NGOs with more people, but it can also be used to improve internal processes, increase transparency, and improve how they collect and analyze data. From online fundraising platforms and donor management systems to project management tools and data visualization software technology can really empower NGOs to work smarter and make decisions based on actual data.
It's about using technology not just as a way to communicate, but as a strategic tool to improve their efficiency, transparency, and ultimately their impact. Speaking of impact, we often hear about this need to get more people, especially young people, involved in volunteering. But how do we turn this into real action? How do we make volunteering more appealing and accessible to a generation that's constantly bombarded with things vying for their time and attention?
It's about creating opportunities for them to do something meaningful, not just token gestures. Young people are more likely to volunteer their time and energy if they feel like they're genuinely contributing, their opinions matter, and their skills are valued. It's about designing volunteer roles that are challenging and fulfilling and align with what they're interested in and passionate about.
We need to move past that old way of thinking about volunteering, where young people are just given those menial tasks. We need to create opportunities for them to take ownership, lead projects, and contribute their unique skills and perspectives.
Exactly. And it's not just about the roles themselves, it's also about creating a positive environment where young volunteers feel appreciated, their work is recognized, and they have opportunities to learn and grow. Things like mentoring programs, skill-building workshops, and networking events can really enhance their experience and equip them with skills that will help them later on in their careers.
It's about building a sense of community, a sense of belonging, where they feel like they're part of something bigger, working alongside passionate people who are committed to making a difference.
And let's not forget about what schools and universities can do to promote that sense of civic engagement. Incorporating social work into their programs, encouraging student-led initiatives, and working with local NGOs can create a more hands-on experience. This lets students actually apply what they've learned in real-world situations.
It's about moving away from that purely academic focus and towards a more well-rounded approach to education, one that emphasizes the importance of being an active citizen and taking on that responsibility of helping others.
You got it. It's about nurturing a generation that's not just informed, but also caring, involved, and ready to create positive change in their communities and the world.
Those are some great ideas, and it's really encouraging to see how much thought and effort is going into strengthening the NGO sector in India. But there's one challenge that often gets overlooked, and that's the difference in where NGOs are located. Why are there so many NGOs in urban areas, and what does this mean for the rural communities that might be getting left behind?
It's a complicated issue with a lot of factors contributing to it. One is just the availability of resources and infrastructure. Cities tend to have better access to funding, technology, transportation, and skilled professionals. This makes it easier for NGOs to get established and run their operations effectively. Rural areas, on the other hand, often lack these essential things, making it harder for NGOs to set up shop, reach the people they're trying to help, and keep their programs running.
So it's not just about a lack of willingness to work in rural areas.
Yeah.
It's about the actual obstacles and limitations that NGOs face when trying to operate in those places.
Exactly. And then there's the perception that cities offer more opportunities for professional growth and exposure. This attracts talented individuals who might otherwise consider working in rural areas. This creates a cycle where the concentration of skilled people and resources in urban areas just makes the difference in NGO presence even greater.
It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy where the idea that there aren't many opportunities in rural areas discourages both individuals and organizations from venturing beyond the city limits.
And this has big consequences for those rural communities. They often face unique challenges related to things like poverty, healthcare, education, and just access to basic services. The lack of a strong NGO presence can make these problems even worse, leaving communities underserved and without the help they need to address their specific problems.
It's a vicious cycle where the lack of resources and opportunities in those rural areas leads to a shortage of NGOs, which then makes the cycle of underdevelopment and neglect even worse.
You got it. We have to break this cycle by making it easier for NGOs to work in rural areas. This could mean giving them financial incentives, investing in infrastructure, developing local skills through training programs, and creating policies that recognize the unique challenges and opportunities of working in those communities.
It's about making things more fair and ensuring that all communities, no matter where they are, have access to the help and resources they need to thrive.
Absolutely. It's about making sure resources and opportunities are distributed more evenly, recognizing that real sustainable development can only happen when all parts of society are empowered to participate and contribute.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. In the last couple of parts, we really dug into the world of NGOs in India. From the work they do in providing services and advocating for change to the challenges they face and the solutions that are being put in place to strengthen the whole sector. Now, in this final part, we're going to shift gears a bit and zoom in on some real-world examples of NGOs that are out there making a tangible difference. It's time to actually meet the people behind these movements and hear those stories about the impact they're having on India's social landscape.
I'm really excited to share these stories. We've talked a lot about the ideas and the problems, but it's always inspiring to see how those ideas actually turn into action and make a real difference in people's lives.
Absolutely. So let's jump right in. Tell us about an NGO that's tackling a basic issue that everyone can relate to: hunger.
Okay, well, let's start with the Akshay Patra Foundation. They often go by TAPF. This organization is a great example of how NGOs can effectively address a really critical social need and create this ripple effect of positive change.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them. They're known for their work in providing those midday meals to school kids all over India, right?
You got it. TAPF has teamed up with the government to provide nutritious meals to millions of children every single school day. The scale of what they do is just mind-blowing. They've created this system that's efficient and cost-effective, but most importantly, it's really making a difference.
And it's not just about filling empty stomachs. It's about breaking down those barriers to education and giving those kids a chance to reach their full potential. I can only imagine what a difference a simple meal can make for a child who might otherwise have trouble focusing in school because they're hungry.
Exactly. By tackling hunger, TAPF is indirectly dealing with things like malnutrition, kids dropping out of school, and poverty. It's this whole system approach that recognizes how these issues are all connected. They're trying to create a positive cycle where something as simple as a meal can become a stepping stone to a better future.
It really shows the power of simple solutions when they're done right with precision and dedication. Okay, so let's move on to another organization that caught my eye during our research, the Smile Foundation. I was really drawn to their focus on empowering underprivileged children and youth. Tell me more about how they approach this and what kind of impact they're making.
The SMI Foundation is doing amazing work in areas like education, healthcare, and job training. They're especially focused on helping children and young people from marginalized communities. One of their most impressive initiatives is their mobile medical units. They take essential healthcare services directly to communities that don't have easy access to medical care.
Oh, yes. I remember reading about those mobile units. That's such a clever solution to get around those geographical barriers that often prevent underprivileged communities from getting good health care. It's literally healthcare on wheels going right to the people who need it most.
You got it. And it's not just about providing basic checkups. Those units are equipped to handle all sorts of healthcare needs, from vaccinations and prenatal care to basic diagnostics and treatment for common illnesses. They're bringing healthcare right to the doorsteps of people who've been left out of the healthcare system.
It's a perfect example of how NGOs can be creative and adapt the way they deliver services to reach those most in need. It's making healthcare accessible, affordable, and tailored to the specific needs of each community.
And their impact goes beyond healthcare. The Smile Foundation also runs education programs for kids who don't have a lot of opportunities, giving them access to a quality education that can help them escape poverty and empower them to create a better future for themselves.
Education is so important for empowerment, and it's really heartwarming to see organizations like the Smile Foundation working so hard to ensure that every child, no matter where they come from, has the chance to learn and grow. Now, I can't talk about NGOs that are working on children's rights without mentioning the Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation. The name itself carries so much weight, a legacy dedicated to protecting children and making sure they're safe and well.
You're absolutely right. The Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation, started by Nobel Peace Prize winner Kailash Satyarthi, has been leading the charge in the fight against child labor and trafficking. Everything they do comes from this belief that every child deserves a childhood that's free from exploitation and abuse, and they've been instrumental in rescuing and helping countless children who have been victims of these terrible practices.
It's truly inspiring how dedicated they are to creating a world where every child can live with dignity and freedom. It's a battle against these deeply rooted systems of exploitation, and it takes so much courage, compassion, and a relentless pursuit of justice.
And their work isn't just about rescue and rehabilitation. They also focus on prevention, trying to address those root causes of child labor and trafficking, things like poverty, lack of education, and social inequality. They push for stronger laws, raise awareness about the problem, and empower communities to protect their kids.
It's a multi-pronged approach
Mm.
that acknowledges just how complicated the problem is and attacks it from all sides. It's about creating a safety net around children, making sure they're free to dream, to learn, and to live without fear and exploitation.
It's a vision I think we all share, and it's organizations like the Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation that are making it a reality, one rescued child, one empowered community at a time.
These stories of impact are so heartwarming. They really show the power of human compassion and the potential that NGOs have to create real change. But as we've been talking about throughout this whole deep dive, even the most dedicated and well-meaning NGOs face obstacles. What are some of the hurdles that these organizations and others like them come up against in their everyday work?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is funding. Getting consistent and reliable funding is a constant battle for many NGOs, especially those smaller ones, working in areas with limited resources. They often have to depend on grants, donations, and fundraising, which can be unpredictable and make it hard to plan and carry out long-term projects.
We talked about those funding gaps in the sector where some NGOs have access to a lot of money while others are barely scraping by. It's an issue that needs to be addressed, so there's a fair distribution of resources and more support for those grassroots organizations working at the community level.
Exactly. And another hurdle is navigating all those complicated rules and regulations. Meeting all those legal requirements, from registering to reporting, can be really time-consuming and take up a lot of resources, especially for those smaller NGOs that might not have a lot of staff or expertise.
Like this bureaucratic maze that can take their time and energy away from what they're really supposed to be doing, which is helping people.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the challenge of building trust and credibility within communities, particularly in those remote areas or communities that have historically been marginalized or underserved.
Mhm.
It takes time to build those relationships, to really understand what's going on locally, and show that you're genuinely committed to meeting the community's needs.
It's about earning their trust and respect,
Yeah.
showing them that you're not just some outsider with a temporary agenda, but someone who's really invested in their well-being for the long haul.
Well said. And lastly, we can't forget about the emotional toll that working in the social sector can have on people. The staff and volunteers at NGOs often work in difficult and emotionally draining situations. They deal with sensitive issues and see firsthand the struggles that people in those communities face.
It's work that demands a lot of empathy, resilience, and a good support system. It's about recognizing that doing this kind of work can take a toll on you and making sure that people who dedicate their lives to helping others are also taking care of their own mental and emotional health.
Definitely. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And taking care of yourself is essential to avoid burnout and make sure you can keep going.
These are all very real challenges, and they show how complicated working in the NGO world can be. But even with these obstacles, it's clear that NGOs are playing a vital role in shaping India's social landscape. They're bringing about positive change and empowering communities to build a better future for themselves.
I couldn't agree more. What they do is a testament to human compassion, the unwavering spirit of people who dedicate their lives to helping others, and the belief that we can make a difference, even if it's just one step at a time.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of NGOs in India. We explored their roles, the challenges they face, the solutions that are being implemented, and those incredible stories of how they're making a difference in changing lives all across the country.
It's been a fascinating journey, and I really hope that our listeners now have a better grasp of this dynamic and constantly changing sector.
Me too. And I hope they're inspired to get involved themselves, whether it's by volunteering, donating to a cause they believe in, or just spreading the word about the incredible work that NGOs are doing. Every little bit helps.
Absolutely. The future of social development in India really depends on individuals, communities, and organizations all working together to create a world that's more equal and more sustainable.
Yeah.
And NGOs are right at the heart of this movement. They're driving change, empowering communities, and creating a ripple effect of positive impact that goes way beyond what we can even see.
That's a beautiful way to wrap up our deep dive. So to everyone listening out there, thank you so much for joining us on this journey. Remember to stay curious, stay engaged, and keep making a difference in your own way. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the things that matter most. Until next time.